Climb now. When Elena and Julia Leandros asked permission to explore a canyon a short distance from their family's campsite, their dad told Elena not to go too far and to be back by 4 o'clock. He also reminded both girls to stick together. He told them to stay out of the creek and not drink the creek water. He told them to put on their sunscreen and so on and so on. Julia rolled her eyes at this. The sisters hiked down the trail that led to the canyon. It was a pretty canyon with a small creek flowing along the bottom. It had steep walls like an abstract painting of brightly colored rock layers. It was very quiet except for the babbling stream and an occasional scurrying lizard. That was why we were able to hear the faint rumbling coming from far up the canyon. "Oh my gosh," Elena gasped. "That's a flash flood." "It is not," retorted Julia. "You've been reading too many of those Park Service brochures." She mimicked the ranger who had given a campground talk when they first arrived. "Watch out for rattlesnakes. Beware of poisonous plants. Don't get caught in a flash flood." Elena had been scoping out what high ground they could get to quickly. She now grabbed her sister's arm and tried pulling her towards some rocks at the side of the canyon. "Don't you remember that lightning storm we saw across the valley last night? The rain from that must have flowed into the creek. And yes, I've been reading the brochures. That's how I know it doesn't take much rain to cause a flood around here. We have to climb now. Look at that creek." Julia turned and saw what her sister was talking about. The creek was fuller and faster, and it was carrying along a number of small branches. The rumbling was louder too. She quickly began scrambling up the steep rock pile after Elena. The girls were several feet above the canyon floor when a burst of water covered the trail they had been following just minutes before. Julia started to cry. "Hold yourself together," Elena admonished. "I think we're safe here." However, watching the brown, angry torrent, she soon changed her mind about their safety. If the raging waters loosened the boulders at the bottom, their precarious perch could be washed away. They had to get somewhere more stable and also higher, since there was no way of knowing if that water had finished rising. And Elena looked around. That tree behind them looked strong, and its upper branches touched the canyon wall near a big ledge. Perfect, if they could get there. Fortunately, both girls had been tree climbers. Julia's whimpers faded as she concentrated on choosing the best branches. The girls soon reached the ledge, which was wide and dry, best of all, very high. They lay down on their stomachs and surveyed the turmoil below. They'd figured out the next step in a while, Elena thought, but for now it was just good to rest here in safety. Which sentence best summarizes the beginning of the passage? A. Julia and Elena go hiking in the canyon with their family. B. Julia and Elena get caught in a flash flood and take several steps to keep themselves out of harm's way. C. Julia and Elena are enjoying a nice hike in the canyon when they realize they're about to be caught in a flash flood. D. Julia and Elena get caught in a flash flood and Elena saves Julia. Number 7. What word best describes how Julia feels when the flood occurs? A. Excited. B. Scared. C. Confident. D. Knowledgeable. Number 8. Read the sentences. She mimicked the ranger who had given a campground talk when they first arrived. Watch out for rattlesnakes. Beware of poisonous plants. Don't get caught in a flash flood. What does the use of the word mimicked suggest to the reader? A. That Julia doesn't believe the ranger's advice. B. That Julia doesn't take the ranger's warning seriously. C. That Julia is scared of getting caught in a flash flood. D. That Julia doesn't like camping with her family. Number 9. Which sentences from the passage best support the conclusion that Elena is confident? Select all that apply. A. Oh my gosh, Elena gasped. That's a flash flood. B. It is not, retorted Julia. You've been reading too many of those Park Service brochures. C. She quickly began scrambling up the steep rock after Elena. D. Hold yourself together, Elena admonished. I think we're safe here. E. Julia's whimpers faded as she concentrated on choosing the best branches. F. They'd figure out the next step in a while. Elena thought, but for now it was just good to rest here in safety. Number 10. Summarize what happens after Elena and Julia realize they're about to be caught in a flash flood. Explain using details from the story to support your answer.